Hey everybody, this is Jimmy. Welcome to another segment of the Jimmy Tingle Meet the Candidate series for Cambridge School Committee and Cambridge City Council. Right now we have a first-time candidate running for Cambridge City Council. Please welcome to the show the one and only Joan Pickett. Hello Joan, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, Jimmy. I've been looking forward to this.
We've been looking forward to talking to you. So, Joan, tell everybody a little bit about your background. How long have you lived in Cambridge, and why are you running for Cambridge City Council?
I lived in mid-Cambridge for 26 years, moved up here from New York, and have loved every minute of living in this community. And I'm running for City Council because at the moment, I feel many of the residents are disconnected from what's happening in the city in terms of being informed of what's happening, in terms of providing feedback on what's happening, and really not feeling that they're being listened to. And I was one of those people, and that's why I felt an obligation to jump into the city council race, to come out of retirement, and actually represent, I think, people who feel they're not being heard.
Mm-hmm. You say you're coming out of retirement. What was your professional background?
So I worked 20 years at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. I was doing strategic and business planning. And before that, when I was in New York City, I worked for Standard & Poor's Corporation for 13 years in municipal finance. So I have a background in water, sewer, electric,
Very good.
Bonds. So I have a finance background and a planning background. Plus, I've also been very active in the community. I've been the head of the Mid-Cambridge Neighborhood Association, on the board of the Charles River Conservancy, and the chair of the Charles River Conservancy, and Cambridge Streets for All, which is another not-for-profit. So I've been very active since moving to Cambridge from New York.
All righty. So tell me, what do you think, in your estimation, is the city of Cambridge doing well? And what do you think, where do you think we need help?
Well, I was very impressed with how the city handled the pandemic. I thought they did that very, very well, kept people informed, sent out information, told you how you could get vaccinated. So even though it was very chaotic and no one knew really what this was all meaning, I thought they did an excellent job in communicating with the residents and that particular situation. Where I think they've fallen a little short is in informing people about really significant changes to the city. The one that got me involved in the first place was the cycling safety ordinance, which many people know what this is, but it was really about putting in separated bike lanes. And I was so excited when they came to my street because they were finally repaving a pothole that had existed for decades. And I was like, yay, our streets are being repaved. And then they're like, we're repaving them because we're going to put in bike lanes and take away parking. So that kind of was a downer for me. And I said, okay, great. When is the meeting to discuss this? And they're like, there's no meeting. This is happening. And I said, no, there's got to be a meeting. There's always a meeting in Cambridge. We always get to talk about things. And the answer was, no, this is happening. So I got my neighbors all excited. We wrote letters. We actually forced the city to have a meeting with us. But guess what? It was still happening. Mm-hmm. So there was really no opportunity for them to get input from the neighbor. No, there was an opportunity, but they weren't listening to what they were hearing from the community. And that got me really interested in understanding what else is going on that I don't know about, that I should know about. And that's how I got involved. It's not, whether you agree with separated bike lanes or not, is not the point. The point is communication, making sure citizens have a voice, respecting that voice. And when residents are saying, hey, this isn't going well, and when our businesses are saying, hey, this isn't going well, I think the city council has an obligation to rethink their strategy, stop for a minute, and maybe take a different course. And that did not happen. So I think you can understand why I feel the need to run for city council.
Okay. And when you expressed that to your neighbors, were there a lot of people on the same page in terms of a little bit surprised that they didn't know about this?
Absolutely. It was not only my neighborhood, but as I started to reach out across the community and connected with other neighborhoods where this was happening, it was all the same thing.
Hmm.
We didn't understand this was happening. And let me explain why. Because when the city council adopted this, it was during the pandemic. The
Mm.
first time this was introduced into city council was March 16th of 2020. Now, remember March of 2020? It's kind of hard to go back there. It was
Yeah.
chaotic.
Yeah.
People were getting sick and awful things were happening, like people actually dying.
Right.
And it was just a time of confusion. And so this was introduced in that environment. And then through the whole year of 2020 until it was actually ordained in October of 2020.
Hmm.
So very little, if any, public comment. People weren't paying attention to anything other than how do I stay healthy? How do I
Yeah.
look after people who are ill and unfortunately dying? So, anyway, the
Yeah.
way that this was done was really not consistent with what I would believe would be the best practice in the way Cambridge has done things in the past.
Okay. So, what would your top 3 to 5 priorities be if you were so fortunate to be elected to the Cambridge City Council?
Well, I really hope I am because I do think I can make a difference with my community background and with my skills in planning and finance. So, my first priority is we've got to reestablish the relationship between the city council and its residents and businesses because, again, as I go across this entire city, it's broken, people are disappointed, people are frustrated. So, that's
Hmm.
my first priority. That needs to happen. My second priority is to go back and take a look at the cycling safety ordinance and see how it can be done in a better fashion and to make sure that the businesses and residents are at the table to have a conversation. The way that this has been rolled out is one size fits all, and you know, from driving and living in Cambridge, every street is slightly different.
Hmm.
So the solution that may work on Mass Ave might not work on Cambridge Street, or it might not work on Broadway or Brattle. And there was really no consideration for that. There was no traffic engineering, no traffic planning. And so we need to do that.
Hmm.
And the next thing that's been a top topic just recently passed was the affordable housing overlay amendments. And I have published in Cambridge Day what I think the next thing that should happen. And that really, again, is zoning is not a plan. Zoning is about buildings. Buildings are a very important part of a community, but they are not the community itself. We need more around it. So we need to continue this conversation because we've focused on heights and we focused on setbacks. That's not the right way to plan for affordable housing. We need to sit down as a community and do a comprehensive plan. We need to understand how we're going to provide middle income housing. We need to understand how we're going to provide a path to ownership. And we're going to have to look at creative ways to finance this. And we need to talk to our universities and see if they can help us with this because there's a lot of pressure that gets put on housing when graduate students are not housed by the schools, but rather competing with everyone else for housing. So there's a multi-pronged approach. This is not a simple issue. And we have not taken the time as a city or a city council to really look into the many facets of this and develop a plan for moving forward. So I'd say those are my top 2 priorities.
Okay. Great. And tell me what organizations, if any, have endorsed you?
So CCC, Cambridge Coalition of Citizens, a group called Save Mass Ave, and a group called Cambridge, it's a new organization, Cambridge Voters for Good Government. So
Okay.
those are the 3 organizations that have endorsed me.
Great. And when you talk about the community input, and I just asked another candidate this as well, are you open to hearing things that, aren't necessarily reflect your preconceived
Oh, absolutely.
ideas? because a lot of people, say, okay, we're going to have a meeting. Here are my ideas. There are 3 ideas. And then 100 people go, we like one of them, but we don't like all of them. Are you open to being flexible in hearing from the community and adjusting accordingly? Because I've asked the same question to people who feel differently about the bikes, that they're here to stay. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And that's the role of a city councilor, is to come in and really be open-minded. I don't have any preconceived notions about what it should be. That's why you ask for input. That's why you consult with experts. What I'll be able to apply to that, obviously, is my analytical approach, my understanding of the financial pieces of it, and again, bringing in my civic engagement. But that's exactly what we need to do. We need to hear pros and cons, because there's usually someplace in the middle, in my experience of working up in organizations and in civic organizations. We need to bring people to find where there's a common ground and work from there. But we can't do it if we're polarized with each other, and we can't do it in the middle of developing an ordinance in a city council meeting. That's the wrong place to be having these conversations.
Right.
So I really look forward to that and finding the right forums for us to have those civic conversations. Try to minimize the polarization that we're having and find that common ground. And I believe we can do it, and I believe I can help achieve.
All righty. So, Joan, give us a closing statement, please. Why should people vote for you, and where can they find out more about you?
Okay. Well, first, you can find out more about me at electpickett.org. That's my website. And you should vote for me because of everything I just said. I want to build community. And that is one of the most important things, I think, that we need to restore in the city. We will have conversations about the right way to move forward with things, but I want to find the spot where most of the residents agree this is where we need to go. And that's why people should vote for me for city council. And I'm looking forward to it.
Great. And that's electpickett.com?
Electorg.org. Electpickett.org.
electpickett.org. Joan, thank you so much for joining us today. Continued success. Congratulations on running for Cambridge City Council as a first-time candidate. And I hope to see you on the campaign trail and on the Cambridge circuit. Thank you, Joan.
Thank you.